Welcome back to Financial Philosophy Podcast. We're jumping straight into a really deep topic today. We have to challenge something fundamental, something that's basically driven, well, generations of how we think about work and life. And that's the question. What is your most valuable asset? Decades, the answer seemed obvious, right? Money. We're taught from day one, practically chase it, pile it up, measure yourself by how much you have. It's like the ultimate scorecard. But what if that whole idea, what if thinking money is the goal? What if that's the biggest deception we face in modern life? What if we're all running this race, optimizing everything, but for the wrong finish line? The sources we're digging into today, and it's a fascinating mix, behavioral psychology, the nuts and bolts of personal finance, and some pretty revolutionary thinking, like Bill Perkins' Die with Zero. They all point towards a radical shift. Money, they argue, isn't the end point. It's not the asset itself. It's just a tool, a really useful tool. Okay, absolutely essential sometimes, but it has one core purpose: buying back your time, fueling your freedom.
So that's our mission in this deep dive. We need to kind of redefine wealth for you. We're aiming to pull out three key nuggets here. First, this philosophy of time and energy being your real currency. Second, the practical math, how you can actually calculate when you have enough money to be free. And third, the psychology behind it all, why prioritizing experiences, building what we might call an experience portfolio, actually leads to, deeper, more lasting happiness than just buying stuff. Right, let's start by unpacking that conventional story. The one that's so ingrained is like the background noise of our culture. We call it the deferred life plan. You know the drill. Work like crazy in your 20s, 30s, 40s. Save everything you can. Climb that ladder. And then one day, way off in the future, you'll finally have earned the right to, kick back and enjoy life. It sounds so responsible, doesn't it? So sensible. But when you really break it down, this plan is actually a massive gamble, a really high stakes one.
Oh, it's more than just a gamble. It's a fundamental miscalculation, especially about the cost of your life energy, your vitality. When you sign up for this deferred plan, you're explicitly trading your most vibrant years, your peak energy years, your most resilient years physically, mentally. You're putting all that on the line for a promise of security later on. You're basically sacrificing your youth, your health potential, your capacity for peak experiences, all for the sake of accumulation.
Yeah, and it's not just the hard work itself, is it? It's the specific things we put off.
Exactly. It's the language we all use. You hear it constantly. Maybe you even say it yourself. Things like, oh, I'll travel the world when I retire. Or I'll learn guitar when I have more time.
Right, I'll finally write that book.
When things slow down. Or I'll spend real quality time with the kids once I get this next promotion. These things, these really formative experiences, the ones that actually shape who you are, they get pushed onto this imaginary waiting list for a future date that, and this is critical, might never come, or at least not with the same capacity to enjoy it.
And that's where it gets kind of grim, honestly, because time is a cruel accountant, as they say. It doesn't give refunds. It makes zero guarantees. That peak health you have today, the energy, the willingness to rough it a bit, that's not promised for your future self. And our sources really hammer this point home. It's a sad, common story. People finally hit that magic number, that big portfolio they sacrificed 30, 40 years for, only to find that life has already extracted its price.
Right. They might not have the physical health anymore to do that trek they dreamed of. Or maybe they just don't have the stamina to chase grandkids around. Or, and this one's really tough, sometimes the companionship isn't there. They neglected relationships during that relentless grind.
Yeah.
So they achieved the financial goal, but the cost was too high. A cost in lost life, lost vitality, that money just can't buy back.
It really makes you think about the timing of experiences.
Precisely. The experiences that would have really pushed you and shaped you in your 20s or 30s, like, say, backpacking through somewhere challenging on a shoestring budget, that's fundamentally different. It builds resilience in a way that, a comfortable guided tour in your 60s just can't replicate. We often miss this nonlinear value.
Like compound interest, but for life experience.
Exactly. $1 invested at 25 grows way more than one invested at 45, right? Well, an experience lived at 25, when you're full of energy, maybe less set in your ways, it compounds differently in your memory, your identity, your skills, than trying that same thing at 65. The value is qualitatively higher earlier.
Okay, so let's be super clear here. This isn't about telling people to just, blow all their money and forget about the future. Financial planning is still vital.
Absolutely crucial.
But what these sources are doing is completely reframing why we plan. The goal isn't just to stack up the biggest possible pile of cash by the end. It's about consciously designing your life to maximize the richness of your experiences. Living with the best collection of memories, skills, relationships. That becomes the new definition of wealth.
Okay, so this leads us right into that core philosophical shift, redefining our actual currency. If money is just the tool, what are we actually spending to get it? What's the real, non-renewable resource here?
Time and energy.
Right. The sources are unanimous on this. Those are the only two truly finite assets you have. You get a certain amount each day, and that's it. You can't earn more time. You can't really stockpile energy indefinitely.
Unlike money.
Exactly. So when you start looking at your life through that lens, suddenly your job looks different. It's not just where you get a paycheck. It's a major expenditure, a huge chunk of your limited time, your limited energy, mental, physical.
And the question becomes, is it worth it? Is this a good investment of my life? Am I getting enough back, not just in dollars, but in fulfillment, purpose for the irreplaceable time I'm pouring in?
And what's really powerful, I think, is how this shift changes your relationship with money itself. It stops being this, endless treadmill, this constant need for more, that feeling that you're never quite there.
A rat race.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Instead, money becomes finite, an achievable goal. Its purpose gets really specific. Accumulate enough so its returns can buy back your time, buy back your life, basically. Free you from having to trade your energy for income.
Which brings us directly to this very practical concept that came out of the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early. The freedom number.
Yeah, the freedom number. It's simply the amount of money you need invested working for you so that you can live off the investment returns alone. You don't have to work for money anymore if you don't want to. It's the finish line for the accumulation phase. It makes freedom tangible, measurable.
And the way to figure it out, well, it sounds complicated, but the basic rule of thumb is actually surprisingly simple. It's called the 25X rule.
Right. The core idea is estimate your desired annual expenses. What do you realistically need to live comfortably, happily without working for it? Take that yearly number, multiply it by 25. That's your target freedom number.
So let's use an example from the sources. Say you figure out you need, $50,000 a year to live the life you want post-work.
Okay.
You multiply $50,000 by 25.
You get $1.25 million. That's your freedom number in this example.
Now, we should probably unpack the why behind that 25X a bit more. It's not just a random number.
No, absolutely not. It's directly tied to something called the 4% withdrawal rate. This came out of some pretty influential research back in the 90s, often called the Trinity study. They looked back at historical market returns through booms and busts and figured out withdrawal strategies for retirement portfolios.
And the finding was?
The finding, simplified, was that if you started by withdrawing 4% of your portfolio's value in the first year of retirement and then adjusted that amount for inflation each following year, historically there was a very high probability, like over 95% chance that your money would last for at least 30 years. Even through market downturns.
Okay, so 4% is the withdrawal rate.
Yeah.
And to find the total needed, you flip that percentage.
Exactly. 100 divided by 4 gives you 25, hence the 25X rule. You need 25 times your annual expenses to safely withdraw 4% per year.
But, and this is important for anyone really considering this, there are caveats, right? It's not quite that simple, especially if you're planning to retire really early or need the money to last longer than 30 years.
Oh, absolutely critical caveats. The 25X rule is a fantastic starting point, a great motivator, but relying on it blindly can be dangerous. The biggest risk is something called sequence of returns risk. Basically, when market downturns happen, matters hugely.
Meaning if the market tanks right after you retire?
Exactly. If you hit your number and then the market drops 20% in your first few years of retirement and you're still pulling out 4%, you're selling low, locking in losses, and you might deplete your savings much faster than the historical averages suggest. It can be catastrophic early on.
And the original study used mostly U.S. historical data, right? Are conditions the same now?
That's the other major point. Future returns might not look like past returns. Some experts now argue, based on lower expected growth rates and different inflation scenarios, that a safer withdrawal rate might be closer to 3.5% or even 3.3%, especially for longer retirements, which means your target number might need to be higher than 25X, maybe 30X or more.
Okay, so the calculation needs nuance, but the real power, you're saying, isn't just the final number itself, which can feel, frankly, overwhelming.
Well, the magic is in the mindset shift it creates, the intentionality.
Once you have that specific, measurable target, your personal freedom number, it changes everything. Saving isn't deprivation anymore.
No, suddenly every dollar you save is a concrete step towards buying back your time. You can literally see yourself getting closer.
And every unnecessary expense, that new gadget, that fancy dinner you didn't really care about.
It's not just money spent, it's time delayed. It's a calculated setback from freedom.
It forces you to be conscious, to make deliberate choices about where your money and therefore your future time is going. It turns financial management from this vague, often stressful thing into a focused strategy for living a richer life. All right, so once we've got this freedom number in mind, this target for financial independence, the next layer is this really radical idea championed powerfully by Bill Perkins in his book, Die with Zero. And it's provocative, no doubt. It directly challenges that deep-seated cultural instinct to just keep accumulating wealth, even beyond what we could ever possibly need or spend, maybe leaving a huge pile behind. His core argument sounds simple, but it really shakes things up, he says. Your life is basically the sum total of your experiences. So your goal shouldn't be to maximize your net worth at death. It should be to strategically maximize the richness of your life between now and then.
Which means actively, consciously converting your financial resources into meaningful life experiences while you are still healthy and able to fully enjoy them.
Hence the title, Die with Zero. Or, close enough that you didn't leave massive amounts of unspent life potential on the table.
Yeah, and it's so important to stress, this isn't about being reckless. It's not about just blowing through your savings irresponsibly.
Right, it's the opposite.
It requires more planning, in a way. Thoughtful, strategic planning of your entire life timeline. Knowing when to save, definitely, but also knowing, crucially, when is the optimal time to spend those savings on experiences that yield the highest life return.
And the key driver behind this is timing, isn't it? What Perkins calls time buckets.
Exactly. He argues that the value you get from an experience, the personal growth, the joy, the memories, is heavily dependent on your age and physical condition when you have it.
Let's use that travel example again.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Think about backpacking across, say, Southeast Asia in your early 20s. You're probably physically resilient, maybe happy, sleeping in basic hostels, super curious, open to meeting anyone. That kind of raw, maybe slightly uncomfortable experience shapes you deeply.
Creates those core memories.
Right. Now contrast that with maybe a luxury guided tour of the same region when you're 75. It can still be wonderful, absolutely, comfortable, interesting, but your physical capacity is different. Your willingness to deal with spontaneity or discomfort might be lower. The social interactions might be more structured, less serendipitous.
The experience itself is fundamentally different.
Fundamentally. Perkins' point is, you need to invest your money in the experience at the age when it will give you the maximum possible return in terms of enjoyment, growth, and lasting impact. The experiential value literally declines as your physical ability and maybe even your openness declines.
This forces us head-on into that big societal fear, the fear of running out of money, outliving your savings.
It does, and Perkins acknowledges that fear is real. It's primal, rooted in survival. But he counters pretty convincingly based on data that we are far more likely to make the opposite mistake.
The mistake
of drastically oversaving, hoarding resources for a distant, uncertain, often potentially sedentary or even disabled future.
While letting our present-day vitality just wither away, unused, that peak energy, that health we have right now, our most valuable and fleeting asset, we don't deploy it.
It's a massive misallocation across your life's timeline. We save obsessively for maybe our 80s and 90s, sacrificing the vibrant life we could be living in our 30s, 40s, 50s.
He uses that example of inheritance too, right?
Yeah, the idea that leaving a huge inheritance when your kids are, say, 60 years old themselves might be far less impactful than giving them significant financial help maybe for a house down payment or to pay off student loans when they're in their 20s or 30s.
When it could actually buy them more freedom and opportunity.
Precisely. It's about timing the deployment of money to maximize its positive impact on life, not just maximizing the final sum. And often, earlier is better.
Okay, but I can hear some listeners thinking, especially if they're just starting out or maybe struggling with debt, die with zero. Easy for a millionaire to say. Doesn't this whole philosophy kind of assume you already have a decent amount of money to play with? How does this apply if you're barely making ends meet?
That's a really fair and crucial challenge. And the philosophy doesn't ignore it, but the application shifts. It's not necessarily about spending big money on experiences if you don't have it. For someone with fewer resources, the die with zero lens becomes more about opportunity cost and maximizing the value of your time and the small discretionary funds you do have.
So how does that look practically?
It means asking sharp questions. Am I spending my limited extra cash on, say, small, fleeting material things. The daily fancy coffee, the subscription I don't use, the slightly newer gadget that adds zero long-term value. Or could I redirect even that small amount towards a lower cost but higher impact experience? Maybe a weekend camping trip with family instead of eating out twice. Maybe saving for a local course instead of upgrading a phone.
So it forces a prioritization, even on a small scale.
Exactly. It might push someone who's naturally very cautious to actually spend a little bit of their hard-earned savings on, say, visiting their aging parents now while everyone is still healthy, rather than hoarding every single penny for an uncertain future decades away.
It changes the focus from how much money you have to how strategically you use whatever resources, time, and money you do have across the timeline of your capability.
Right. It's about making sure your resources serve your life to the maximum extent possible, given your circumstances and your current phase of life.
And this idea, this push towards prioritizing experiences, it isn't just, a philosophical whim. It's actually backed by a lot of solid psychological research. Our sources point again and again to the work of Dr. Thomas Gilovich at Cornell. He spent years studying how we spend money and how happy it actually makes us.
Yeah, Gilovich's work is foundational here, and the findings are remarkably consistent and honestly pretty counterintuitive for a lot of us raised in a consumer culture. What he finds over and over is that the happiness we get from experiences tends to last longer, it grows over time through memory, while the joy from buying material things, it fades, often very quickly.
Right, that quick burst of excitement from a new purchase, it doesn't stick around.
Exactly. And the mechanism behind that fading joy is something psychologists call the hedonic treadmill or hedonic adaptation.
Okay, break that down. How does the treadmill work?
So you buy something new and shiny, a new car, maybe a bigger TV, some nice jewelry. Right at that moment, you get a real hit of pleasure. A dopamine spike, it feels great.
You feel successful, maybe.
Yeah, validated. But here's the thing. Humans are incredibly adaptable. Our brains are wired to get used to new circumstances very quickly. So that new car, after a few weeks, maybe a couple of months, it's just your car. The big TV is just the TV. The initial excitement wears off, becomes the new normal.
Your happiness baseline resets.
Precisely. And here's the treadmill part. To get that same level of excitement again, you now need something even better. A faster car, a bigger TV, more expensive jewelry.
It's an escalating cycle.
It's a never-ending cycle. You're running faster and faster on this treadmill of consumption just to maintain the same level of fleeting excitement. The research is clear. This rarely leads to deep, sustained fulfillment because the gain is always temporary.
Wow. So contrast that with experiences. You're saying the joy from, I don't know, learning to surf or that amazing trip you took, that doesn't fade in the same way.
It doesn't. In fact, it often grows. Experiences become part of your identity. They become part of who you are.
They're not just external things you own.
No, they're internal. They shape your narrative, the stories you tell about yourself. That challenging hike where you push through, the connection you made with someone from a totally different background, that concert that just blew you away. These become woven into the fabric of your life. And every time you remember it, every time you share the story, you actually re-experience some of the positive emotion. You get a sort of psychological dividend. Material goods just don't do that.
Gilovich also talks about social comparison, right?
Yeah.
How experiences are kind of immune to that.
Yes, that's another huge advantage. He calls it non-comparability. Think about possessions. They're inherently easy to compare.
Yeah, someone always has a nicer car, a bigger house, a more expensive watch.
Exactly. And that constant comparison game can really chip away at the pleasure you get from your own things. It fuels envy and dissatisfaction.
But experiences?
Experiences are uniquely personal, subjective. How can you really compare your specific memory of climbing that mountain or the feeling you had mastering a difficult piece of music with someone else's experience?
You can't really quantify it in the same way.
Right. It's your story, part of your internal narrative.
Yeah.
And that makes it much more resistant to the corrosive effects of social comparison. The value stays intact because it's intrinsically yours.
That's fascinating. And what about bad experiences? Does the psychology hold up there? Because buying something terrible is just regret, usually.
That's another interesting point from the research. A bad purchase, something that breaks or you never use or just wasn't worth the money, often just sits there as a reminder of a mistake, clutter, regret.
Right.
But even experiences that were difficult or unpleasant at the time, maybe a trip where everything went wrong, a project that failed miserably, a performance that bombed, In hindsight, these often get reframed. They become learning opportunities, tests of resilience, or, very commonly, they turn into great stories, funny stories you tell for years.
The story gets better with time, even if the moment was awful.
Exactly. The experience still provides value as a story, as a lesson, as a marker of resilience. A broken gadget rarely does that.
Okay, so if the goal shifts from maximizing cash to maximizing life, what does that actually look like? If we start building the financial portfolio as the main goal and start building this rich life portfolio, what goes in it? The sources emphasize it's not just about, ticking off bucket list travel destinations. It's broader than that.
Much broader. A truly rich life in this framework is about a balanced, diversified portfolio of meaningful investments across different areas of life. Investments of your real currency, time, and energy.
And the sources break this down into specific areas.
Yes, they highlight 5 key investment areas that consistently contribute to long-term fulfillment and well-being. Investing intentionally across these areas creates that robust, well-rounded life portfolio.
All right, what's the first one?
First is investing in skills and knowledge. And this isn't just about job skills for career advancement, though that's fine too. It's about continuous, often non-vocational learning. Things like mastering a craft, maybe woodworking, pottery, coding for fun, or achieving real fluency in a new language, or committing seriously to learning a musical instrument.
Things that expand your capabilities beyond work.
Exactly. These pay dividends for life. They increase your independence, your sense of competence. They open new ways of seeing the world, new social circles. Learning a language, for instance, it doesn't just give you a practical skill. It can fundamentally change how you perceive other cultures and even your own.
Okay, skills and knowledge. What's next?
Second, and this one is huge according to the research, nurturing relationships. The data on this is overwhelming.
You mentioned the Harvard study.
Right. The Harvard study of adult development, running for over 80 years now, its clearest finding. The quality of our close relationships is the single best predictor of our long-term happiness, health, and even longevity. More than money, more than fame.
So investing time and energy here is paramount.
Absolutely. Deliberately investing in your friends, your family, your community, prioritizing deep connections over to have a wide network. This requires conscious effort, blocking out time, being present. Yeah. It's probably the highest return investment you can make for a rich life.
Makes sense. Third area.
Third is actively pushing your boundaries. Seeking out experiences that challenge you, that force you to grow. Introduce some productive discomfort.
Like what kinds of things?
Could be physical challenges, training for and running a marathon, learning to rock climb or scuba dive. Could be creative challenges, starting that ambitious writing project, learning complex choreography, things that test your limits, your resilience, your ability to deal with frustration.
Why is that so important?
Because overcoming these challenges builds what psychologists call self-efficacy. It's the belief in your own ability to handle difficult situations. And that confidence doesn't just stay in that one area. It spills over, making you more resilient and capable in your work, your relationships, everywhere.
Okay, boundaries pushed. What's number 4?
Number 4 is intentionally cultivating awe and wonder. Proactively making time and space to appreciate things bigger than your everyday concerns.
Like getting out in nature.
Nature is a classic example, yes. Spending time in a forest, by the ocean, looking at the stars. But it could also be engaging deeply with art or music that moves you, or even just noticing the small, intricate beauties of daily life.
And this actually impacts well-being.
Significantly, according to the research. Experiences of awe tend to shrink our sense of self in a good way. They make our own problems feel smaller, connect us to something vast and meaningful, and reduce stress. It requires making intentional space for it.
All right, one more. What's the 5th component?
The 5th is giving back, contributing your time, your energy, and maybe your skills or resources to something beyond yourself. This could be formal volunteering for a cause you believe in, mentoring someone, or even just practicing intentional acts of kindness systematically.
The sense of purpose connection.
Exactly. The psychological benefits of generosity and contributing to a community are immense. It provides a deep sense of purpose, connection, and moves us beyond our own individual needs and wants, boosting overall life satisfaction.
So building this kind of portfolio skills, relationships, challenges, awe, giving back, it requires real changes, doesn't it? It's not passive.
Not at all. It requires a conscious, deliberate reallocation of your resources, primarily your time and energy, but also your money.
You have to make trade-offs.
Absolutely. It might mean saying no to the latest gadget upgrade so you can afford that immersive language course. It might mean choosing a job that pays a bit less but gives you way more free time for family or that passion project.
Or just being really intentional about weekends.
Definitely. Transforming weekends from just passive consumption shopping, binge watching, into active creation of memories and skills. It really demands an honest audit of your life. Where's my time actually going? Where's my energy going? And does that align with what I claim to value most? And the great thing about this whole philosophy, from rejecting that deferred life plan all the way to building this experience portfolio, is that it's about integrating financial responsibility, not ditching it.
Yeah, it's not about being irresponsible.
Not at all. It's about putting financial planning in its proper place as a tool to serve a well-lived life, rather than having your entire life organized solely to serve the accumulation of money. The finances support the life, not the other way around.
Okay, so people are listening, maybe feeling inspired or challenged by this. How do they actually start? How do you move from the philosophy to practical action? Our sources pull together some concrete steps, right? Things you can literally start doing today.
Yes, 6 actionable steps to begin reclaiming your time and building that richer life.
Let's walk through them. Step 1.
1. Define your rich life specifically. This is absolutely foundational, and it's the step people often skip. You have to get concrete.
Not just vague ideas like be happy or travel more.
Exactly. What specific experiences do you want to have in the next, say, 5 years? What specific skills do you truly want to master? Which relationships need specific, dedicated time and attention?
Write it down.
Yes. Write it down. Detail what it might cost, not just in money, but in time. Put it on a timeline. Make it real. Specificity turns a vague wish into an actual plan you can execute.
Okay, define the vision. Step 2.
2. Calculate and strategically adjust your freedom number. Don't just take our $1.25 million example. Do the math for your life.
Estimate your desired annual spending.
Multiply by 25 as a starting point, but then dig deeper. Consider that sequence of returns risk. Do you need a more conservative withdrawal rate, maybe 3.5%? Does that mean your target should be closer to 28 or 30x your expenses?
Knowing a specific number makes saving purposeful.
Immensely. It provides the target and helps you immediately see how unnecessary spending directly delays achieving that freedom.
Got it. Number 3.
3. Create an experience fund and automate it. Treat experiences like a non-negotiable bill, just like you probably automate savings for retirement or an emergency fund.
Set up a separate account just for experiences.
Exactly. Label it experience fund or life fund and set up automatic transfers, even if they're small to start. This does 2 things. It builds momentum, and it ensures the money is there and earmarked. When a timely opportunity pops up, that concert, that weekend trip, that class you want to take, no scrambling or guilt involved.
Smart. Okay, step 4 is about time.
4. Time block your life with extreme prejudice. This is huge. You have to treat your time like the truly scarce, invaluable asset it is. Give it the same respect you give work commitments.
How do we do that practically?
First, do an honest time audit for a week. Where does your time actually go? You might be surprised. Then start scheduling the important life stuff.
Like putting family dinner or practice guitar or go for a hike directly into your calendar.
Yes, with the same seriousness as a client meeting. Block it out. Defend that time. Because if it's not scheduled, the urgent stuff, emails, chores, endless scrolling will always crowd it out. The tyranny of the urgent, as they say.
Okay, time blocking. Number 5.
5. Practice mindful spending. Use the fulfillment check.
Yeah.
This is your defense against that hedonic treadmill. Before you buy any non-essential thing,
Ask yourself a question.
ask yourself, will this purchase genuinely add to my long-term happiness, my identity, my rich life portfolio? Or is it just a fleeting desire, a quick hit that will fade?
Be honest.
Be brutally honest. Asking this simple question consistently can dramatically slash impulsive, low-value spending and free up resources, money, and mental energy for things that actually matter long-term.
Okay, final step. Number 6.
6. Embrace mini retirements or sabbaticals. Instead of grinding for 40 years straight for that one big retirement at the end, which you might not be healthy enough to enjoy.
Consider taking shorter breaks along the way.
Exactly. Negotiate for them. Plan for them. Even a few weeks or a few months off periodically throughout your career can be incredibly powerful.
But how realistic is that in most jobs?
It's becoming more realistic, especially with remote work and companies realizing the value of preventing burnout and retaining talent. You might need to frame it strategically, not just, I want a long vacation, but maybe I'm taking a sabbatical for professional development, or a period of focused learning, or simply a strategic recharge to boost long-term productivity.
So you can use these breaks.
For immersive travel, for pursuing a passion project intensely, for deep skill building, or just for recharging your energy, all while you're still young and healthy enough to get the maximum value from the experience. Don't wait decades if you can strategically carve out time sooner. #outro.
So when you pull all this together, what we've really been talking about today is, well, it's kind of a call to rebellion, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah.
A rebellion against this cultural pressure that just demands constant accumulation, more and more, often asking you to sacrifice the best parts of your present self, your energy, your time, your vitality, for a future that's never guaranteed.
It's really an invitation to fundamentally redefine what wealth actually means to you.
Right. The real measure of a rich life isn't the number in your bank account at the end.
No, it's the depth, the diversity, the richness of the experiences you've accumulated, the quality of your relationships, the skills you've mastered, the contributions you've made. That's your true portfolio.
Your greatest asset, then, isn't your money. It's this finite, unrepeatable, precious thing, the experience of being alive right now, the time you have today, the energy you feel, your capacity to learn, connect, grow, feel awe, give back.
That's the real capital.
So as you head back into your week, armed with maybe some new math, some psychology, we want to leave you with this one final thought to chew on. Your life itself is a time-bound investment. How strategically, how consciously, and how fully are you going to invest it?